And welcome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Jasper with Score Main. I'm joined by Laura Robeson of GainKite for today's webinar on email marketing for small businesses. If you didn't know about us here at Score, we are a partner of the Small Business Administration, and we help clients from all stages of the business cycle, from pre-start to exit. And if you don't already have a mentor, it's just as easy as signing up for this website for this webinar. You just head to our homepage at score.org and enter your zip code right on that front page. And I do want to thank today's sponsor, the Maine Technology Institute, for helping make today's workshop possible. And Laura, why don't you take it away?
All right. Hello, everyone. This is I think I've given this presentation a few times with Score, and definitely encourage questions. Jasper is really fantastic at monitoring the chat. He'll kind of surface questions to me if I'm not seeing them because I'm kind of talking to this presentation. So feel free to come off mute or put questions in the chat. I think every time makes it more interactive and more useful for everyone on the call. So I'll just share my screen and we can get going. All right, is everyone seeing that okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, awesome. All right. We'll just advance here. This is kind of an overview of the agenda. And again, please ask questions. But really what I'm hoping that at the end of this call you feel more confident in is, how to use email marketing to your advantage, whatever your goals might be. Whether you are trying to engage with people so that they make a purchase or become a customer, or if you're just trying to kind of, get engagement from an audience that you've built. I hope that you feel more confident in what and how to go about email marketing for your business or your organization to reach your goals. So we'll talk about just email marketing and compared to the other channels, because there's so many things you can do online and various different channels to engage with your audience or try to find new customers. So where does email marketing fit there? How to measure success, what a comprehensive email marketing strategy could look like, and how to build an email list. So we'll just dive right in. Just a little bit about me. I have 17 years of marketing experience, and for most of that, email has either been the primary role, like I've had roles specifically in email marketing automation, and also, in other roles like with, lead generation and retention and life cycle. Email has been a main channel that I've used across lots of different organizations, lots of different company sizes, and I've seen it work really well. Sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes if you're not intentional about it, it's just noise. But so I just kind of wanted to give you that perspective that, you don't have to have a giant email list in order for email to be effective for you. And you don't have to be in a certain specific industry. It works for, B2C or B2B companies. And I'm happy to be a resource for you also after this call. If you want to just, talk about ideas or talk about your specific business or your situation and how you might go about email marketing, I'd love to be a resource for you, as you think about email marketing and try things out. So to take a step back from email marketing, marketers for a long time, decades and decades and decades, have had this rule called the rule of seven, which is basically it takes potentially 7 touch points with a person before they're ready to make a purchase from you. That's obviously a broad statement and it varies by business type and industry, etc. But it's a pretty good rule of thumb to go by, that you need multiple touches, multiple times where you're engaging with a person for them to, first of all, even register that your brand and remember that you exist. Also then find you interesting, want to engage with your content or your company, build up some trust so they feel confident that you potentially could offer something that they need. But now in the world of digital, a lot of people think it's perhaps the rule of 10. Some people even think it's even more touch points that you have to have with a person before they're ready to make a buying decision. So what that means is that you really do need to be able to engage with a person repeatedly in order for them to be ready to make a sale a lot of times. And obviously your business types are much, vary. Some of you have, service-based businesses, some of you are selling products, etc., everything in between. So it depends, but just think about, how am I going to repeatedly engage with a specific person in my audience in a way that they feel ready to buy from me, they feel ready to become a customer or a client. Email does allow you to have a little bit more control over making sure that you're reaching the same people repeatedly. Because if you're doing, say, you're sponsoring events, or you're doing radio ads, say you're doing, organic social posts, or you're even boosting some of those social posts and putting some money behind it, you might be doing paid search or paid social. You are casting a wide net, which you need to do, but then, you're not always reaching that audience multiple times. Sometimes you might just reach them once or twice. And so in order to reach someone, say 10 times, if that is the magic number, you need a vehicle where you can, capture someone's information and then start to have a little more control about when they see content from you, and what that content looks like, so you can create that journey that's building trust and helping them understand how they might need your product or service. So email is a really effective way, and this visual hopefully helps you to see how, you're casting that broad net, but you want to capture their email address at some point. We'll talk about that later, but you want to be able to capture their email address so that they are a person that you know and you can reach out to and have more intentional touch points, and hopefully to the point of them wanting to purchase from your business. Email marketing, and this kind of outlines like what you would have to do if you relied on any one given channel to achieve those 7 to 10 touch points. If you were only going to use organic social, and that was your one channel, and your whole business was resting on that. Organic social, by the way, means that you have a Facebook account or an Instagram account, or maybe even YouTube. You're not putting any money behind it. You're just posting content, trying to get followers, and you want those followers to see your content. If you were relying on organic social to achieve all those 7 to 10 touch points, you would have to really, really understand that platform, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. You'd really have to understand the algorithm, what they're prioritizing, what content is, what are the meaningful things? Do you need to do hashtags? Do you need to do, co-branded posts, et cetera, et cetera? You would really need to understand that platform inside and out in order to make sure that your content is being presented to your audience again and again and again. Because as you probably know, a lot of your followers aren't seeing all of your posts. I'll follow someone, and then 2 years later, be like, oh, what about that company? I'll look at them and realize I haven't been seeing their content, because the algorithm changes, based on what they're serving up to their viewers. They're prioritizing people staying on their platform, so they're serving up the content that leads to the highest engagement, not the highest engagement with your account, but the highest engagement on the platform. So it's challenging to get 7 to 10 touch points just using organic social. And I won't go through each of these things in detail, but you kind of get the point, where same as radio promotion or sponsoring things, you're going to cast a broad net, but they're not all going to hear your message over and over and over again. They might just hear it a couple of times. So unless you have a really large, budget for paid ads, you wouldn't really want to rely on paid ads alone to convert people. But again, paid ads can be an important part of a marketing strategy where you're trying to reach more people with a specific message. But email marketing, again, just like all of these things, email marketing is not your only channel either, most likely. You probably want to be posting on organic social. You might want to be doing some paid ads. You might want to be doing some sponsorship, some content creation like blogs, video, etc., and then trying to capture people's email address so that you can also be in their inbox sending valuable messages. an important point about a social, like social media versus email is that even though in both ways, your email list versus your social following, you are building an audience. The important thing to note is that you can take your email list and take it with you wherever you go. Say you're using MailChimp and you decide you want to go to Constant Contact. You can take your email list with you. That is a business asset that you own. Those people have opted into hearing from you, and the information that you capture on them is something that I hope you think of as a business resource, because it can fuel growth over time if you're strategic about it by continuing to engage with that audience. Your social following is also important. But you cannot take that with you. You cannot decide that, all right, I'm done with Instagram. I am going to TikTok. I'm going to take my followers with me. You cannot do that. So just note that an email list is a business asset to you, that you can continue to get value from, and you have a little bit more control there than a social platform or social following. So that's an important distinction that I want to call out as well. This might look a little daunting, but we're just going to go through it section by section. And what I'm hoping to achieve here is, and after this slide, we'll pause. We'll pause for questions, because I know I've been doing a lot of talking. But what I'm hoping to achieve here is for you to start to think about email marketing as a strategy, and as something that can take you from engaging with potential customers to converting them into customers. And then what? Engaging with your customers to build, retention and loyalty. I want you to think of email marketing kind of holistically, and how it can support each of those phases of someone getting to know you and then further engaging, rather than just a series of emails that you send out. Someone told me I have an email list, so I have to email them every month. What do I send? I want you to try to evolve away from just thinking about like sending out an email each month with all of the things that you're doing in your business, to what does this person need from me right now to engage with me further. So we'll kind of go through this section by section. But for your leads, like I kind of alluded to before, you're going to do a lot of activities that are generating awareness of your company, your brand, your solution with kind of a broad audience. Not everyone's going to be a fit, but you kind of want to cast that wide net. And hopefully you're going to use something like a lead magnet for those most interested people, those people who really fit what you're offering. You want to be able to capture their email address at some point, hopefully early in the process. And then once you have someone's email address, you want to build think of it as a lead nurture campaign, meaning these people barely know I exist. They might have heard about me on an ad or from someone who I've worked with in the past, but let's pretend they don't really know me. This is my chance to introduce what my business does, who I serve, how I'm different from other companies, in my space, and how can I build trust with that person so that they feel comfortable making a purchase, or at least continuing to engage with me. Every touch point should be as valuable as you can make it. And again, it's a lot of trial and error. Every email isn't going to be amazing, but try to think about, all right, if this email was in my inbox and I can put myself in that person's shoes, why should I open it, and would I care? Try to think about the relevance of what is this touch point meant to do. How can I engage with this person and make them want to engage with my company and my content and my solution? So you're trying to move them from awareness to consideration. They're aware that your brand exists. They've given you their email address for some reason. Now you need to move them through to consideration, where they're actively considering your solution or your product and how they might work with you and whether you might be right for them. Ideally, you might, move right from this lead nurture where you're introducing yourself to a sale or a purchase or a new client agreement, whatever it might be. That's not always going to happen, but sure, that would be lovely. If they don't convert right away, that's okay. They might just not be ready. They might be at a point in their, budget cycle or financial situation where they're really interested, but it's just a not now situation. What's your plan for continuing to engage? Because as interested as someone might be in what you're offering, there's so much, in our phones, everything that we're, like email and social and ads and everything. There's so much bombarding everyone that they probably won't remember you unless you make an intentional effort to continue to engage in a way that's meaningful to them. So you want to have continued lead engagement. This could be just, offering some, value, depending on your bit. And sometimes I ask ahead of time, what is your business type? So I can have some relevant examples. And I didn't do that here, but you want to continue to add value so that they're here seeing your name in the inbox over and over again in ways that are relevant to them and meaningful and adding some value or interest. Ideally, they're not stuck in this lead engagement forever, and maybe they will. I mean, some people are just going to drop off, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be your customer, but ideally, some of them will eventually convert. And that's when you start this whole new phase of, all right, this person has given me money. They're in a different category than these leads. They've converted to a customer or a client. What does that look like? How can they be successful with me, my service, my product? Set them up for success. So you want to think about, what can I send them via email to set them up for success, build some anticipation, make them really excited and affirm for them that, yeah, you made the right choice. Again, definitely depends on your business type. This could look like, tips or tutorials for working with you or your services. If you have a product that's shipping, you could send them an email with, something that, okay, yeah, your product's on the way. Hear from some happy customers about how they're, getting the most out of this product. So it depends on your business, but think about in the immediate time frame after someone makes a purchase, what can you do to make that really successful? Where whatever problem they were hoping to solve with this purchase, or whatever they're hoping to gain out of this purchase, how can you make sure that they're really set up for success there? And if they have a really good experience purchasing the first time and they're a good fit for your business, continuing to engage will hopefully lead to either long-term, being a long-term client or customer, or repeat purchases. And then there's also an opportunity for you to get something back from them in terms of feedback. You could upsell them. You could also, if you know that there's kind of a common problem area or common questions or whatever it might be that your customers tend to have, like, set them up for success by anticipating some of those problems. And you can use email and other things like social. I mean, email is just one channel, but try to anticipate some of those questions or issues, and really make that customer feel supported, that if they have a problem, they feel like they trust that you would want to know about it and you'd help to solve for that. And then it comes to like that loyalty, the referral. As someone engages with your company, purchases from you multiple times, think about, how could you reward their loyalty? How could you let them know, even if you don't want to have some rewards program, that's, some of you might not be relevant. Your business might be too small, but how can you really make sure that they know that like you're a really appreciated customer? You can just send a yearly email, like, thank you for still, for being with us for X number of years, or whatever it might be. So make sure that they know that you appreciate them. Incentivize referrals. Get creative with how you ask for referrals. Make sure there's something in it for them. If you're not getting a lot of referrals, get creative. Collect testimonials and case studies. Again, these people, even the companies that I purchase from that I'm really happy with, I don't always remember to leave a good, Google review, or tell somebody about it. Sometimes it does take some prompting. Some businesses are really good at this. They'll say, once you purchase, hey, I'd really love a review on Google, or, asking for it directly can be really powerful. So use those happy, loyal customers to your advantage as well, to make sure that, they can kind of share with others how you've met their needs. So email is one piece of this, and also surveys. You can offer your most loyal customers early access to your new products or something like that, or test your products out. So there's lots of creative ways to use email through these different phases. The lead, your new leads that know nothing about you, your new customers, and then those really loyal customers. So email is a part of all of that. There are other pieces as well. You're going to want to make personal touch points in some cases, call people up. Again, social. You're going to continue to run ads. I mean, it's good for your current customers to hear ads or see ads from companies that they're already working with, but email is a really important piece of that. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and I would welcome any questions that anyone has at this point.
As mentioned, feel free to put them in the chat or utilize the raise hand function and we can have you come off of mute. If, if you do want to keep going, Laura, I can butt in when someone has one.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I just want to drive this point home a little bit more, and lead marketing and why you should use email to really intentionally reach out to those leads who have not yet purchased from you. About half of new leads are not ready to buy. So when someone comes into your ecosystem, I mean, half feels like, I feel like most people, when they first come into your, they subscribe to your email list for some reason or another, I think it's fair to say that most are not ready to immediately buy. But according to Marketo, they have a lot of data. They say half are not ready to buy, but 63% eventually do if they're nurtured. So think about, again, when you're engaging with leads, those new, and you might not even be ready to call them leads. They might just be email addresses. You might not know anything about them, but there's a person at the end of every email address. So think about, okay, if this person potentially is the right person for my company, they need what I'm offering or they want what I'm offering, how can I nurture them in this stage so that I'm making the most of this email address, I'm making the most of this asset, which is my email list. For customer marketing, increasing customer retention by just 5% has been shown to increase profitability 25 to 95%. I put multiple sources here because I couldn't find a number that everyone agreed upon. It's wildly, varies based on your business type and how you're nurturing those customers. But if you think about, if I can just turn 5% of my customers into repeat customers, or if you have kind of a service-based model, if I can retain just 5% or increase my retention rate by just 5%, that has huge implications for your profitability. So, once someone has converted into a customer, you've done a ton of really good work to get there. So you might as well capitalize on that existing relationship. They've already, tried out your product or tried out your service. Like, you've done so much legwork. Focusing in on keeping those customers a little bit more can have huge returns for your business. And then when it comes to referral and loyalty, 49% of consumers agree they've spent more after joining a loyalty program, which again, for small businesses, that can be a little more complex to think about and set up. But just think about, even if I don't have a loyalty program with points, like what can you do to engage with repeat customers, those people that are coming back to you time and time again? Can I do something to make sure that they feel special? Because that goes a long way. I know when I walk into a store and they recognize me. I mean, that's so powerful. And now think of, if you do business online and you kind of are in that digital space, even sending emails that aren't just generic, like, hey, here's what's going on this month, but if you have it, targeted, personalized, that can go a long way to making someone feel like they want to stay with you, they want to purchase from you again.
Hey, we did have a question in the chat from Frank regarding emailing marketing. He asks, is there a recommended platform you can put on autopilot and it sends out emails to your preferred group? I would say a good chunk of them do, but what ones do you recommend?
that would automatically send out emails.
Mm.
I mean, I think most email platforms now have automation capabilities. So like even a very simple platform like MailChimp, I've used that before, and it definitely has automation capabilities where, all right, when someone, fills out this form, send them a follow-up email automatically. Or if they make a purchase, immediately send these 3 emails. So, everyone's got their favorites. I guess I would say like I don't have like a favorite platform that I recommend to small businesses, but you know, I think most have automation capabilities that will allow you to do some of this, what might feel like more complex, as long as you're kind of setting things up in the right way. Like MailChimp will integrate with a lot of different things, like different e-commerce platforms, etc. Some e-commerce platforms have their own email marketing functionality. So I don't have one that I will stand behind and say, yeah, you should use that platform. I don't know, Jasper, I don't know if you've heard from other score companies that they have a favorite or a kind of a go-to in this
Yeah, I
regard.
mean, MailChimp's very simple, and we use Constant Contact ourselves, and I enjoy Constant Contact's robust tools it's got. You do have to pay for it, but I think that it's a really robust program.
Yeah. I know the technology piece, like what do you choose? What's the right one? I mean, that for me too, it's a challenge because, at the surface, every platform says they do all of the things, but I would say, your email marketing needs are likely not overly complex, and something, like MailChimp and Constant Contact, they've been in the game for a long time, and they have to be competitive to survive. So I think you're gonna get most of what you need, even from some of those, platforms that do cater to small businesses. They still have automation capabilities. Okay, I'll continue on here. Measuring success. So I want you to think about every email touch point as meant to do something for you, or meant to achieve something that is both beneficial for the audience and for you. The person receiving it should benefit in some way. Maybe it's just a funny thing, or an interesting tip, or an insight into your industry that they didn't know about, or a way to take a next step with you too. Because if you think about it, I mean, even if you're a photographer, I've had people say like, oh, I'm a photographer, like I'm not really solving a need, I'm not solving a problem for my customers. Well, you kind of are, because I mean, it's not like a need as in I'm providing, shelter and food, but why do people hire photographers, or why do people work with you, whatever your business is? There's a need there, even if it is just perhaps, less serious. I know when I've hired photographers for my family, it's because, my kids are growing really fast and I want to capture those moments. And, let's be real, we're all a little bit vain. We want to have those beautiful pictures on social media to share. And, so there is a need that a photographer is solving for, even if it's so, like, think about it in that way. The people who are in your audience, in your email list, in your orbit, like, if they're the right customer for you, you are actually solving something for them. You are solving a need. You are, providing a service that they're looking for. So when you think about your engagement, how can you get them closer to solving that need, even if they're not ready to purchase from you? Like building trust with them, making sure they remember your business name, so that when they are ready to purchase, they're ready to, I've got to get this taken care of. I need, whatever it might be. They think of you, they remember that you exist, they have seen your emails, they've followed you on social, they're seeing valuable content that really speaks to them. Every touch point should help to build that trust, build that brand recognition. But again, every touch point isn't going to lead to a sale. So when you're looking at your emails and their effectiveness, an open rate is information. It's a data point. It's not perfect, and it's not the end all be all. If you have 30% of your of people opening your email. Like, what does that mean? It's a good thing. 30% is very good in many cases, but I would say open rate and click rate, they're important to watch over time as a trend metric, because like without getting into too many of the technical background details, like Google and Apple devices, for example, they do a lot of like auto scanning of emails because they're trying to protect their end users from spam and like phishing efforts, etc. So what they do is they might, like some platforms and some devices will auto open emails, which messes with your open rate. Sometimes they'll auto click on links as well to kind of screen what you're linking to, which could like mess with your click rate. However, it is still an important metric to watch over time, because if you're getting, 18% open rate, 20% open rate, 14% open rate, and then all of a sudden you send something and it's got a 35% open rate, that still is, important to note, like, okay, something I said here really resonated. Or, like this subject line was like, I tried something new and it really worked. A lot of people open this. So even though not everyone in that group of what you're seeing as opened your email, they might not have all like intentionally opened your email, but as a trend over time, you can notice if there's a big, bump or a dip in engagement. You really do want to pay attention to conversions or actions taken. So what's the purpose of the email? I want my, my email list, these people who have never purchased from me, I want them to click through and download this resource that I created that really shows the power of what I can do and what my service provides. Then you would look at how many people are downloading that resource. Or I want people to watch a video, or I want them to fill out a form. The goal of the email is what you want to watch, because, just getting a lot of opens and clicks is okay. It's fine. And sometimes that's great. And sometimes that is a meaningful thing, but you really want to have a defined purpose for each email and be able to understand, like, did anyone download that asset, or did anyone fill out that form? That's kind of the question to ask in order to determine, is my email marketing working? Is it effective? And is it resonating with my audience? And just kind of like more behind like the why am I going to focus on email marketing? The more effective your email marketing is, the lower your customer acquisition cost becomes, because like, yeah, you do have a minor cost with most email marketing platforms, but if you are moving more of your leads down the sales funnel into purchasing from you, becoming a customer, converting, you're making more use of the people in your email list and in your orbit. So you're capitalizing on more of that email list to move you down, or move down the funnel and convert. If you're setting up your new customers for success and welcoming them and making them feel like, yes, I'm so glad you're here, I'm going to set you up for success, you're going to have more repeat customers, you're going to reduce your churn. And if you're turning loyal customers into advocates and referral sources, then that's going to help. It's going to help you to communicate to new leads what your service can do, what your product can do for those people, and help to build that trust. So email marketing can help you become more effective at moving people down the funnel and engaging with you more, and hopefully spending money with you. And I just wanted to touch on AI here, because you don't have to be like an AI enthusiast to use AI in a very simple way for email marketing. And like I use it sometimes too, because it's an idea generator, and it's not always I don't ask AI to write me an email and then just drop it into the platform and send, but it is good at generating ideas, kind of, like wording things in different ways, simplifying my messaging. So I would suggest, AI as a tool for coming up with email ideas, if you are not sure where to start. And you will get a copy of this deck after the meeting, but it's still, I mean, if you're just starting out, it can feel daunting. So what I did in this Chat GPT prompt here, which I skipped this first bullet, I'll come back to it, but I just wrote in here, okay, I'm an equine chiropractor. This is my slow season. Can you give me ideas for an email campaign to send to existing subscribers that will generate some business without having to offer a discount? And I mean, I'm not an equine chiropractor, but I just made that up. But then, yeah, it wrote out a 4-touch email campaign with, the goal of each one and some bullet points of what that content should look like. So play around with AI just to see, your specific situation. All right, I've got this email list. I haven't ever done anything with it other than send an occasional newsletter. How do I start using email marketing to, convert people to customers? And play around with it, go back and forth with these prompts. And if you're a non-AI person, then that's okay. Email me and we can have those same conversations, but feel free to just play around with it. It's great at getting you started and giving you something to then work from and try out. But then, as far as other ideas, I would pay attention to what your competitors are doing. I mean, I subscribe to my competitors' email lists and I kind of spy on what they're doing. And it's just good to kind of understand how they're talking to a similar audience. And then even if if you have brands that you admire, even if they're in a completely different industry and they do something totally different, paying attention to what those brands are doing and kind of stepping back and thinking why do I feel loyal to this brand? Why do I feel compelled to purchase from them multiple times? What are they sending me? What is their messaging that makes me feel like I want to align to that brand? Can I use any of that in my messaging? Can I try to create a brand that people, or a company that people want to associate with and they feel comfortable with? Or just kind of pay attention to why you admire certain brands and what is their messaging and what are they doing. And then, also follow along companies at similar life stages. So even if they're not a competitor or they're not specifically in your space, if they're also, a similar size at a similar, they're, just starting out and whatever, you have to kind of guess at some of this, but follow other companies and see what they're doing. Subscribe to other companies' email lists and see what they send you, just to get some ideas. We already talked about AI. And then, always try to put your shoes or try to put yourself in the shoes of your customer or potential customer. What do they need from me? What could I send that will help them feel comfortable, purchasing from me or purchasing again? And try to kind of use some curiosity, because you know your business better than anyone else. You also probably understand your customer in terms of what they get from you better than anyone else. Bring some curiosity and some creativity to all of your marketing and your messaging, and you can do it differently than other people do it. But if you're trying things out, you're going to learn something. So follow along competitors and companies that you admire, but also think about your customers. What could they uniquely benefit from you sending an email? What could that be? How could that make their alleviate their problems or pressure, or make them feel more connected to your brand? And then this slide really addresses how do you start building an email list, because likely you're on social media too, and you're building a social following as well, and it could potentially feel a little daunting that oh, okay, I've got followers, but now I have to build an email list. And again, just bring some creativity and curiosity to it. Of course, you can offer a coupon code or free shipping with their first purchase, or a bonus gift. So if that's relevant to your business, I mean, that's a tried and true way to get people to give you their email address. And especially if they're, coming to your website and they're not ready to purchase, they may give you their email address and, know that they'll get their 15% coupon in the mail, or in their email inbox. You can offer a free trial or free demo or free content, like perhaps an informational webinar. So if that's relevant to your business and what you do, you could just gate content or host a webinar that they have to register for. And then once they give you their email address, they're now in your email list, and you can communicate to them. Again, like I've seen like a myth versus fact resource work really well in like that was in the financial industry. There was just a resource where it's like myth versus fact on a specific, like boring financial topic, but it was, interesting to our audience. We got a lot of opt-ins from that resource alone. Exclusive email content or membership group. I've also seen like on-demand courses, tutorials, videos, challenges. Sometimes people will say, oh, I've got a free email course. And because course sounds more complicated. Oh, I gotta like record video and use a course platform. It kind of simplifies it where it's just an email course where on a given topic, it's like a 3, 4, 5 email series on a given topic that kind of breaks it down. So again, if that's relevant to you, you can get creative with email. And what you're looking for is you want them to give you their email address, of course, and also you want them to engage with, especially with those first few emails. That'll help your sender reputation. That'll help, companies like Google know that you're not a spammer, that if people are opening emails from you, that shows, and not marking you as spam, that shows those email servers that you are, legitimate, and that you're not just spamming people with things that they don't want. So opt-ins and engagement. So here's just a few ideas. And again, like if none of this feels relevant and you want to just, brainstorm what could work for your business, please feel free to email me. And I'd be happy to just kind of throw a few ideas out there, get on a call, and we can talk about like where you are and where you feel stuck or what you want to achieve with email marketing. So I think that I'm pretty much at the end of my slides. Yes, that's my email address. So do we have more questions?
We don't have any new ones in the chat, but if anyone does have any, now's a great time to queue them up. Either submit them in the chat or come off of mute and we can address them. I know that it's pretty wide-ranging topic, but it is an important one to grasp in this modern age of getting your business out there. Frank says, great info. We'll connect and would love to chat more, he says.
Awesome. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we were recording today, and if you miss anything or have joined us late, the recording of today's workshop will be sent out to anyone who's registered as soon as it's available and posted to our YouTube channel, as well as mentioned, the copy of today's slides and a survey will be included then in that email that we would greatly appreciate you filling out.
Awesome.
Well, if there's no questions, you do have contact information. I'll include that in the follow-up email as well. If you think of anything after the fact, don't hesitate to reach out, as well as possibly reaching out to a SCORE mentor. Again, if you're not already working with one, it's just as easy as signing up for this workshop. You head to our website, score.org, and enter your zip code and a little bit of information about your business and what you're looking for help with. And if you weren't familiar with SCORE, one more time, we're a nonprofit partner of the SBA with chapters around the country. And right here in Maine, we helped start over 560 businesses last year. And I want to thank everyone for attending then, if there's no more questions. And I want to thank Laura for another great presentation.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.